welcome to Sports Counsel, your playbook for all things sports. I'm your host, Matt, and I'm here with G for this episode of the show. After 14 long weeks, the time has finally come. It's the Fantasy Football Playoffs. We counsel you on everything you need to know about how to manage your team heading into the fantasy postseason. We also recap Week 14 and who will be going to the playoffs in our listener league, and we unveil our first playoff starts and sits for Week 15. Today is December 9th, 2025, and this is episode 199 of the show.
Well, we're here, man. It's the time for the real deal.
Yep, if you're still listening to this podcast, that means congratulations. You're probably in the postseason, unless you really like the sound of our voices.
Us, which either side is okay.
That's what I was just about to say, man. But it's just the two of us. That also means we're heading to the postseason too, baby.
Let's do it, man. It's exciting. I'm happy to be here. I made all the playoffs in my league, so it's exciting.
Yeah. We got a dynasty team that we got to navigate together too. So a lot of stakes in us. Like if you guys don't know, I made the postseason in about 6 leagues of my own. G, you just said what? How many leagues did you just make it to?
I'm also made it in all my 6 leagues.
There you go. So that's why you listen to us, because we can manage teams into the postseason. So
now it's for the important part. We're going to help you push, make it to the finals, and hopefully win your championships. And if you got money, make some money, right?
Absolutely. So before we get to that, G, we are Sports Counsel. Where can the people find Sports Counsel?
Yeah, man, it couldn't be easier nowadays. Where the people can find Sports Counsel is on their favorite social media app. You can go to Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Facebook, anything else in between, YouTube. We're all on it, and the same handle for everything. So we can make it nice and easy for the people. Sports_Counsel. Go find us, follow us. It's all free. It's nice and easy. The best place to find out anything happening with the pod, join listener leagues for next year, all that fun stuff. It's all on our social media. And then when you're on our social media, in the bio, you'll find a Discord link. Join that. That's the best place to ask questions, your starts and sits, or anything else in between, where reactions to live games, everything like that's in the Discord. So make sure you join there as well. Easy as that. It's sports_counsel on social media and a Discord link in the bio.
Yep, absolutely crucial. You can obviously listen to this podcast, but we are distributing all of our advice as well on Twitter, on Threads, and we answer questions heading into the playoffs. So be sure to subscribe, follow along, join our Discord, all of that. Ask questions. We are here to help you guys out. We are not leaving anyone behind this postseason. So definitely follow, like, and join.
Amen to that, man. Let's jump right into it then.
Yep. So before we get into our playoff coverage, we do want to give a special recap of the Listener League. It was the final week for our regular season for our Listener League, and we've been recapping all season long. This is the final week for people to make it into the postseason. Of course, you can always skip ahead if you are not part of the Listener League. You do not care who makes the playoffs. But to those who do, we had a special recap with one of the people in the Listener League who barely made it in as the 8th seed, and we gave him the honor of recapping that Listener League. So check it out. All right, this is the final regular season Listener League recap of the 2025 Sports Counsel Listener League. It's been a very fun regular season so far, and unfortunately it has come to an end. And to perform the final recap of the season, the regular season, of course, it is our podcaster, Bryant. How you doing, Bryant?
I'm feeling good, man. It's going to be a very interesting recap because I actually lost my match, which we'll get into really shortly what happened there. But no, it's been a great season. It's a great occasion. And I got some stuff to say, man. I got some advice to give everyone.
Yeah, and I think just by your mere presence of being here on this podcast, we talked about it last week with Jamar, whoever was going to be here on this podcast and on this recap likely means they made it to the playoffs. So a little spoiler alert there, but congratulations on making it to the playoffs, Bryant.
Yeah, thanks. I'll get right into it because, well, my team name is We Are So Back, and we are back. I started the season 0-5. you lovely listeners recall probably the first couple episodes, I was very depressed. And I was like, it's over, man. We're gonna hold out hope. Hope was few and far between, but rattled off a string of great wins and clutched it. At the very end, took the final game, was swaying the results, but we're in the playoffs, any which way and how you got to get in. So I'm very happy I was able to, make it this year.
Yeah. But before we get to that, how about you recap the rest of the Listener League first?
Yeah. So
just to show how you got there.
I got there by losing to Matt, YMC3, younger than ever, the Young Men's Club.
Actually, that's why Matt wanted it so bad.
Matt wanted it because he wants to hear the scoreline of Matt got 177.94 and I'm at 116.94. Yeah, he's feeling himself up. And spoiler, we might have a rematch pretty dang soon here. So yeah, wasn't even close. Drake London was out, so was Odunze. I actually, in a desperate effort to try to make it close, shoving Colson Loveland, didn't do too much. I mean, no one player is going to save that much of a gap there. So nothing really could have done, but shout out to guys like Jacoby Myers, RJ Harvey especially, and of course George Pickens, who are really coming out throughout this whole season so far.
Well, not this week, but...
Not this week.
On my side, 177... Love to see it. Great end to the season for the Young Men's Club.
Peaked a little early there, huh?
I hope not, because last year at the finish line, week 14, I was up against Mitty. I remember it. He was going to be the 8th seed if he won, and he did win, and my team crashed. And I was okay with it because I thought regression for that week, and then that means a positive regression for the next week. This time, I wanted to run through the finish line, even though we already clinched the first seed. We did that, and we did it in a big way. And shout out to Michael Wilson. Great pickup off the waiver wires.
Not sure why how that happened. I don't know why I cut him.
But either way, G cut him during the week. I was able to pick him up because I had the highest waiver priority. All three of us actually put in claims for him. I was the one who ended up winning. He got 37 for me. Great addition for this playoff run, I must say. And we're the first seed again, Young Men's Club. We were the 10th overall pick this time. We made it to the first seed once again. Things are lining up just like last year, but hopefully this time we don't end in a first round playoff exit. That's all I'm hoping for.
Yeah, well, congrats to you, Matt. Get that first seed, and we'll see if the results are better this year.
I'm not going to Taiwan this time, so hopefully.
Yeah, don't jinx yourself there. Moving on, we have another podcaster matchup. Between G and his less garbage team. A lot less garbage in the last couple of weeks, if I say so. Going up against Team Nando, 41. And G has prevailed, 120.1 to 102.48. What do you say, G?
I mean, it wasn't the best week, but we won. And it's nice to play not so good the week before playoffs and still get a win. And now we walk into playoffs aspiring to play and do better. So, this week was all right, but... There's a lot of room for improvement here, especially with my wide receiving core between Jefferson, Worthy. This is not very good right now. I need Wandale back out there. Garrett Wilson might be back too. So there's hopefully some support coming from my team. But between McBride, Goddard, I'm going to have to start both of them, I think.
I mean, I dropped Worthy, you picked him up, and then you dropped Wilson, and then I picked him up. I mean, we should have just traded at that point.
Yeah, no, I should have just kept him. And then, I do have McCaffrey on bye, so shout out to him, bro. He's going to be my hero.
Yeah, we'll see if McCaffrey is once again a fantasy hero for these playoffs.
He is going against the Titans this week. He might be might want to start him.
Start of the week, maybe.
26-point projection.
Jesus Christ.
That's wild. Well, best of luck to G here. And moving along, we have, what is this name here? For loser mental having ass, Gab here, going up against Dylan. So more podcasting matchups, whole lot of baby mamas. And, actually I didn't realize how close Gab was. He's at 174.06. So just a click off of what Matt got versus Dylan's 109.88 there. So yet another Yeah, another big old blowout as these playoffs start.
Yeah, I honestly thought Gav was going to get the high score here. I even told him as much in the morning games because he was already at like 160 by the morning. It just so happens that Michael Wilson popped off and I was able to get just a little bit above Gav for this high score of the week. But Gav, he needed this win because this win got him to 7-7, and that clinched him the 7th seed because at least one of the two people had to lose in this other matchup we have, and then you obviously lost, so then that got him into the playoffs. So big win for Gav. He was the 9th seed, I believe, heading into it. So
I think he was he the 9th seed? I know I was 8th for sure coming in this week, but somewhere basically on the bubble.
He was a 9th. Yeah, he had the big jump this week.
Yep, performing at the right time.
Yeah, that's what matters, making the playoffs. That's all it takes there.
To look at the other side as well quickly, Dylan's team is unfortunately, or maybe fortunately for others, falling apart kind of here with some injury luck.
A little smack talk I hear there?
Yeah.
No, it's just outlook.
It's observation.
Well, yeah, however you want to look at it, man.
Yeah, Dylan desperately needs guys like Baker Mayfield and Bijan Robinson to perform like their old selves.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't.
I don't know if
need
that's happening
them.
this year.
He doesn't need that. It's okay.
Maybe you guys are playing each other pretty soon, but we'll get to that soon. Going up. Speaking of G, here is your cousin, Keen Mitty Whoop'em. He was going to be against our resident ugly kid, Lemonaded, I guess. And Mitty won 149.14 to 107.84. So yet another solid win for Mitty as he locks in the 2nd seed for the playoffs.
Yeah, I was looking at this one a little closely as well because I needed to score more points than Mitty in order to secure the 1st seed. And luckily I was able to do that. But Mitty's team is very dangerous heading into the playoffs. Again, he's got Jonathan Taylor, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and Puka Nacua. And Harold Fannin is actually starting to turn it up a little bit too. So that's certainly a team to watch. He's the 2nd seed. He's very dangerous. I believe he has the 3rd most points scored right now in the league. So definitely a favorite in this playoff picture.
He was on a huge win streak before last week. I know he lost last week, but I think before that he was ripping many games in a row there.
He's definitely on my radar. Very dangerous team.
Yeah, could very easily challenge the top. And then, ugly kid, everyone wishes him well here, He didn't make the playoffs, that he's in the lower bracket there, but,
The lower bracket.
I have a feeling, I don't think he'll be in the final toilet bowl. I think he'll find his way and claws out and get out of that punishment. Praying for him, man. Genuinely.
The best is yet to come.
He don't deserve it, man. He's about to show out.
Top scorer soon, man.
He's got to turn it up.
That's
all I got to say.
Cool. Moving along, we have Jamar Bolt the fuck up versus the Romeo Celtics here. Celtics pulled through here was 132.66 versus 88.5 points. So, not the closest of games there too, but it did have a lot of implications as both of these teams, were vying for some of the last few playoff spots there. And then fortunately for Jamar here, Celtics have taken one of the remaining spots.
Yeah, and his loss got him kicked out, got you in. So it's huge.
Yep. It was going to be, this was versus the 6 versus the 7 seed. Go ahead, say it. But one of these teams was going to be eliminated if they lost, basically. Unfortunately, that was our Jamar. He was very hopeful to be able to get his revenge, but...
Yeah, he was also outscored. It came down to the same record, but outscored by Bryant here by 24 points.
Yeah. So,
unfortunate, but happens to the best of us.
Yeah, the final mark, he had about 24 points, I think. So, it was dirt close for everyone. We had 3 teams end up at 6-8 there. So, just all for that last spot.
Yep.
And finishing things up, we have J-Rock's E-Kittens Microphone Assassin versus I was 7-1, says Decker 99. Now he is 9-5, I think in a probably 3rd or 4th seed to finish things up here. But Decker wins 127.44 to 118.56. And I was watching this matchup very, very closely because this was my ticket into the playoffs there. It came down to, I think, Lad McConkey needed 16 or 17 points.
He needed 12. He just needed 12 points.
He needed 12 points. Never mind. He needed 12 points from Lad to, I think at that point, he would have beaten me on the record that he'd be the last 7-7 seed to get in. But Lad, he came through. He came through with 2.2 points there. So, yeah, a very close finish.
Yeah, this was the Monday night game. This came down to the wire. Basically, Bryant, I am sure you were watching very closely if Lad scored 12 or not for this last game because it's your ticket to the playoffs. And yeah, we saw J-Rock crash out over the chat and nicknamed him a bunch of other stuff. Lad is the first fantasy football player maybe in Sports Counsel history to cost not just one person a playoff seed, but two people a playoff seed this year because he got Ugly Kid a lot of early losses and now he gives J-Rock the final loss to kick him out of the playoffs. So, no love lost there.
Yeah, I wonder how he got Lad, huh?
So you sent him a poison bomb, didn't you?
Well, my returns aren't doing much better, so even games there.
The
He wasn't going to win
trade.
with Justin Jefferson. He wasn't going to win the week with Justin Jefferson. I'll tell you that much.
I know he wouldn't.
Yeah. It's funny how things turn out with guys like Jefferson's situation, Lad McConkey to close the year there. Yeah. Well, that's fantasy for you. Things can just swap that fast. Well, cool. That is our final matchups right before the playoffs here. And entering the playoffs for the first round, week 15, these will be the matchups here.
Ooh.
So in the upper bracket, we have the first seed, L Shorts, Matt, going up against yours truly, Bryant, here. So first seed versus 8th seed. After that, we have the 4th seed versus the 5th seed. 4th seed being G, going up against Dylan.
Let's fucking go,
And
man.
then that's a good matchup.
That's hyped.
First, these first two here are all a lot of podcaster on podcaster matchups. We'll see who prevails. And then going on, we have two of our listeners here. The 3rd seed, Decker 99 versus the 6th seed Celtics, the Romeo 7, going up against each other. And then we have another interesting matchup to close up the top half of the bracket here. We got Mitty at the 2nd seed versus the 7th seed in Gav.
Hey, man, huge storylines. I mean, obviously, you two rematch. Let's do it again. Put them down.
I hate
Come
when
on,
that
let's see what
happens.
happens.
Back to back.
I love
hate
it.
that.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it so much.
I'm going to get PTSD
man.
just from last year. Everything's literally happening just like last year. I get the 10th pick in the draft. I go get the 1st seed. I face the same person I faced in the last week. This time, I'm changing the storyline. I got to flip the storyline. Sorry, Bryant. This can't happen again.
You're going to
I
flip the
like
switch?
last year's storyline.
No, last year's story
like
is so
how-
overdone. We don't need to do this again.
And then look
Do
at
it again.
another huge matchup of Mitty and Gav, the biggest rivalry in might be in our developed newly in our Sports Counsel listener league.
It's so
Gav-
funny. I love that.
Gav and Mitty's got real beef here, and it's going to be settled
Damn.
the old-fashioned way.
We got podcasters on podcasters, bad blood, then you guys going at it. This is going to be a real fun.
I do,
yeah,
I do
Dylan-
like that. There's
Dylan
also
doesn't
that
know he's
underrated. Ooh, okay. Yeah, he beat you last time with the Brock Bowers explosion, and he talked a lot about that. So let's see if there's a lot of rematches here. So it's going to be fun to see if they can back it up.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, but I ain't worried. I think.
We'll see who takes in the end. And then finishing us up here in the toilet bowl bracket. You do not want to be the final person standing here because you will be last place. You'll be the king of the toilet bowl. We have our 12th seed, Ugly Kid, going up against the 9th seed in Jamar. And then finally, the 11th seed in Nando going up against number 10th seed, Microphone Assassin. So these four will do the battle in the toilet.
Yep. And we do have a listener league punishment that we will discuss later on in this podcast. But basically, that means you still got to try, guys. You still got to try.
Good luck to the fellas, man.
I'm glad I'm not in that.
Salute you all.
We'll see you guys next week, and hopefully all of us will be here, and we'll know who's in a bad mood.
Yeah. So I just want to just say real quick, 5 podcasters in the playoff. The other 3 are listeners, 2 of which are newcomers. Congratulations to the newcomers. You came in right away and you've already made the playoffs in our listener league. That's a huge honor. It should be very fun though. I cannot wait. This is a great competitive league. I mean, basically the standings all ended up kind of with the same records as each other. There were 3 games separating the 1st seed from the 8th seed, right? So could have been anybody's league. It should be very competitive. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. I think 3 people ended at 9 and 5 and 3 people ended at 6 and 8. So real close up top.
Yeah. All right. You ready, Bryant? You ready to do this? I'm not ready to do this.
I'm ready to watch it happen.
We'll see, man. I mean, The early projections, I don't know how accurate they are. It does say I'm up, but you never know. All it takes is one player, like Michael Wilson again, blowing up. If Marvin Harrison is out, I'm dead. Just looking at how Michael Wilson is
They are playing the
man.
Texans this week, though. They are playing the Texans. Trust me.
It's something
We'll
to think
see.
about. But
I mean-
we're gonna go we're gonna go make some playoff adjustments. We'll see how it turns
We'll
out.
be back.
But thank you so much, Bryant, for doing the Listener League recap. Hope everybody is back for this podcast next week. No hurt feelings. Gotta suck it up. But thank you for the Listener League recap.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Thank you so much, Bryant. Man, we got to give it out to Bryant. Honestly, he went 0-5 to start the season, and he made it all the way into the playoffs. This is exactly what we talk about every year, to not give up, because he was that dude, and he made it all the way to the playoffs.
It's an impressive story, to say the least, man. You know, we talked about literally, I think it was week 4, week 5, and he was 0-4, how he could bounce back and why people shouldn't give up. And now he's in the playoffs, and hopefully things go well for him.
No,
well, I guess
think,
not.
The story ends here. I think the story should end here. I think this is good enough. But again, we say this every year, and I just saw in my office league, we had 2 people who were 0-4. Both of them made it to the playoffs. This literally happens all the time. The season's very long. Never give up. Never kill yourself. Okay? That's all you have to do. Just keep on going.
Yeah, keep pushing, keep listening, and it'll work out.
All right. Well, I did win the Listener League topic at about 177 points right here. This is the last Listener League high score topic that we were unfortunately going to have this season. We don't do it for the postseason. We kind of just let the results there speak for themselves. So this will be the last one of this year. So there's a lot of pressure on it. But I thought that the most relevant topic for the end of the year would be, of course, fantasy football punishments, because they're coming up. The stakes are high, even for the losers brackets, because if you have one of those out there, you're still competing, because usually the punishment is pretty bad.
I think most leagues with the punishment, the punishment is worse than the actual winning satisfaction.
Yeah, it's just a matter of like, okay, I don't want to do whatever embarrassing or terrible thing at this point is. And that's what motivates people to keep on going throughout the season. It's like, not even just like, you just make the playoffs and get eliminated first round, fine. At least I don't have to do the punishment.
Yeah, the punishment is pretty bad.
Yeah. So I just want to get your thoughts on this, G. What is, personally, like, have you ever had the fantasy football punishment before? And what is the worst possible punishment that you would personally hate the most?
Well, I haven't had to do a punishment yet, fortunately. A lot of my leagues, we didn't play punishment. I feel like that become a bigger trend of recently. So we have picked it up, and since then I haven't had to do it. But there is a league that I have where I would say we have one of the hardest punishments possible. It's called a milk mile. So you have to you have to run a mile and drink a gallon of milk, and you choose your order. But usually it involves just ending up yakking and feeling like crap, and we call it the milk mile, and it's terrible.
Do you have to finish the milk before you cross like the final?
Yeah, essentially.
God, I mean, I feel like I don't want to get too cocky.
A gallon of milk is so much fucking milk, though.
I know. I mean, I'm usually just not good. Like, when I run, I don't even try to drink too much water beforehand because it weighs in your stomach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Milk depends on like the fat, but it's heavy.
It's heavy regardless, I think. Especially for some lactose fellas, bro. Oh, man.
It's over. It's like you just got to cancel the day after that. Like, just move on.
Yeah, what's the worst punishment you've seen in one of your leagues or had to do?
Well, we've never had a punishment in our money league. That's usually the main league that I have. And honestly, I've heard a lot of different ones. I personally don't think that they're all too bad. The most popular one I think right now is 24 hours in a Waffle House or 24 hours in a bar. Or it's like, I saw one a couple years ago where it's like McDonald's, and if you eat a certain item on the, in McDonald's, you get like a certain couple of minutes or like hours taken off your time, right? Like a hash brown's like 30 minutes. Like, okay. I feel like I could do all of those. Like I could sit in a Waffle House on a Saturday for 24 hours.
I think those ones are more just like a test of will. Like they're doable. I like the ones that are more embarrassing, right? I consider like the make a TikTok until one goes viral, or 30 straight days of TikToking, or something of that nature. I don't know why it always involves TikTok, but some social media kind of like embarrassment is always
TikTok's
good.
embarrassing. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the one that I would least like to do. Like, I've seen the SAT test. I can do an SAT. I've done it before. I can do it again. I did it twice. I can do it again. No problem. At 26, yeah, easy. Give me that shit. But honestly, the ones like I've seen the stand up, like you do a stand up at a comedy club with someone else writing the jokes for you, that could get pretty bad really quickly.
Yeah, I haven't seen that, but that's actually really good.
Yeah, I would hate that. That's like my no. Or if there's anything involving like physical pain, I think the milk mile is not like terrible in terms of that, but it's like
You're talking about real physical pain, like.
yeah, I have no idea what. I'm not even going to suggest anything, honestly.
I mean, there
maybe
was
run a
one where it was like
triathlon.
there was one of my leagues where they were trying to do a haircut, like first place gives last place a haircut. And I was like,
Oh, that's some bullshit.
That's just
Yeah, I'm not
fucking
doing that.
fucked up, bro. We're too old for that. That's like a good college one, because like college, you shave your head or look stupid for a week. It doesn't really matter. I can't go to work on Monday with a stupid looking
Exactly.
haircut.
One of the punishments suggested by another league that I'm in is to change your name legally.
Oh my god, that's just fucked up.
Luckily, I'm probably not going to go into last place there. I might do middle name. I would change middle name.
It's just like so unnecessary. Like,
It's an interesting way to memorialize your fantasy career. But
I mean, that's one way to look at it.
either way, as the listener league, we did have a fantasy football punishment for last place. And Dylan unfortunately got the honors of having the first listener league punishment last year. And he was forced to watch the Travis Kelce Taylor Swift romantic comedy movies in a movie marathon the week after the Super Bowl, and then live tweet about it. And we had everyone on the Discord kind of make sure that he was, watching the movies. And, honestly, that's not that bad of a punishment right there. But, it was the first year of our listener league. We didn't, of punishments in our listener league. So we didn't want to go too hard on him. At the same time, I don't think he really enjoyed it. So I think that was adequate enough.
Yeah, got the job done, I think.
But unfortunately, this year, we are going to raise the stakes a little bit here. So for those of you in the losers bracket, you might want to listen up to what we are suggesting here. This was ironically proposed middle of the season by one of our podcasters / former podcasters in Nando, who is going to be in this loser bracket and probably trying to avoid this punishment. But the punishment for this year's Listener League is to record a day in the life TikTok of yourself, and you got to send it to us, and we're going to post it on all of our social media handles for everyone to see. And it's got to be quality. We got to see a day in your life. That means you got to set up the tripod, go to Target or some shit in the parking lot.
Driving out of Target parking lot TikTok.
Gotta get the card out, go inside, and then stop, go back, turn off the camera, pull it in. Gotta do all that.
Jesus.
Yep, and it's gonna be on our social medias. Failure to comply in this will result in harsh punishment.
And banishment from the league.
We might honestly suspend you for a year in the league from participating.
Depending on who it is, too.
If you don't participate. Yeah. We will be open to negotiation on the punishment if you really, really can't do it, but there will be a punishment no matter what. Just keep in mind that that is probably the punishment you're trying to avoid. Good luck to McYoungboy, Jamar, Microphone Assassin, and Nando. You are our 4 finalists for this punishment.
Yeah, man.
Can't wait to see it.
I found it that usually the person that smelt it dealt it. So in this case, Nando is my guess for who's going to get it.
I think I would enjoy a day in the life of Nando.
I think he'd be the most entertaining.
For sure.
And we don't know most of the other people, right? So it's like I have no clue what to expect from Microphone Assassin or McYoungboy.
I want to see McYoungboy's day in the life of. I want to see him. I know, we've never personally seen McYoungboy, to our listeners out there, so it'd be interesting. And we'll work something out, McYoungboy. If you still don't want to reveal your face, you just put a mask on or something, like blur your face out the entire time.
Yeah, doing a day in life wearing a shiesty.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was our Listener League topic, our final Listener League topic. I think we got some incredible ones this year. So shout out to all of our listeners, to all of the people who participated in this year's high score topic conversations, because we got some real quality ones out there. So you really stepped up your game. They made the podcast much more entertaining to even do. So really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's always been a pleasure.
All right. Well, it's finally time to head to the postseason. This is exactly what you've been waiting for, maybe since summer, maybe since the last time in the fantasy season where you were unceremoniously booted from the fantasy football playoffs. This is your time for redemption. This is your time to win a championship, get all the glory and the bragging rights of your fake little football game. It's finally here. And this is the most important time of the year. And the records don't matter. It doesn't matter how many points you scored the entire season. It matters how many points you score in these next 3 weeks.
If you made the dance, all that matters is how you dance now. So nothing previously matters.
And I think that we got accustomed, right, for the last 14 weeks on how to set your rosters, how to pick up people off waivers and whatnot. But I think in the playoffs, things change. And if you don't adjust with the times, and I think you and I, G, we can agree on this because we've both been to the playoffs before. We're both veterans to this game. We've seen how it works. We've won championships before. I think the way you manage your team now has to be a little bit different than how you previously did it. How you make roster decisions, how you make start-sit decisions should be different in order for you to win these games.
Yeah, I think my main strategy, I think we mentioned this last year and we're going to mention it every year going forward, is trusting your guys. And you have to. And you have to be ruthless in that manner. It doesn't matter who the guy is on your team. It doesn't matter the name of the player. If there's a better player, if there's someone you feel better about on your bench, on the waiver wire, whatever it is, you got to do it. There's no more holding back. There's no holding extra roster spots. There's nothing. If you have 4 guys on your bench and you know they're not going to play, for example, and the person you're going against needs a quarterback, and you decide, hey, before he gets a quarterback, I'm going to cut every single player on my team and on my bench and pick up 4 quarterbacks to make sure he can't get a good quarterback, then do it. Who gives a fuck, right? Like at this point, who cares, right? If you leave a guy on the bench who might get 10, 11 points for someone else and you're going to get the win this week, that's all that matters.
Yeah, you got to be especially ruthless at this point, especially how you leverage those bench spots on your roster. I think a good mix of it is, obviously, the first thing is that we've preached patience for the majority of the fantasy season. Be patient, be patient, be patient. We have guys on injured reserve, guys who are kind of struggling to put it together, rookies, right? Speculative pieces. There's only 3 weeks left, guys. It's time to get rid of them. It's time to move on. If they can't contribute in the next 3 weeks, even in this next week, then you can cut them and move on. If they're not essential, they got to go, because you can use those spots to kind of get the guys that you are going to be able to win with this week, which includes 2 things. One, what you just said, competitive pieces for your other opponent's roster, right? Let's say your guy needs a quarterback. He's streaming a quarterback. Take all the best quarterbacks out there. Jacoby Brissett, he's a streaming quarterback that's been great lately. Get him. Trevor Lawrence, Jared Goff, all of these kind of fringe guys out there that could get about 15 points that can upgrade your guy's roster spot, you got to pull them off the waiver wires.
Yeah, and it doesn't just go for quarterbacks. I think that goes for if there's receivers, running backs, and to the very, very more smaller level, the defenses and kickers too, man. It doesn't matter.
Defenses is a big thing, definitely, because people stream defenses all the time. People stream kickers all the time. Defenses, especially, are matchup based. For example, the San Francisco 49ers defense is a very hot item that I've seen lately because they go up against the Titans this week and then the Colts next week, right? Even if you have a very good defense, let's say you have like the Rams defense or like Seattle's defense or Houston's defense, you're not going to start the Niners defense because it's matchup based versus your talent based defense, but your opponent might. So you might want to just take them off the waivers so that they can't have the ability to do that. That's one thing. The other one is handcuffs. Handcuff your running backs, ladies and gentlemen. It's finally time. I don't particularly ascribe to the handcuff theory where you have to keep the backup the whole time throughout the entire season. But, for example, Devon Achane was just hurt last week. And I actually had the foresight in our listener league to just grab Ollie Gordon off the waiver wires right before Sunday, just in case something happened to Achane. And something did happen to Achane. Unfortunately, Ollie Gordon wasn't the primary backup, so I did screw up in that part. But that's exactly what you need to do in this case. Obviously, it's not going to help you that week, and if you lose that week, you're screwed. Unfortunate. But if you still somehow manage to survive the next week, at least you don't have to burn the waiver priority or wait for the waiver gods to make sure that the guys in front of you don't make a claim for the backup that you're looking for. And you just have the guy already on your roster ready to go, right? You already have Jalen Wright on your roster, right? You already have Brian Robinson for the Christian McCaffrey backup, right? Tank Bigsby for Saquon Barkley, Tyler Algier for Bijan Robinson. These are premier handcuffs that will immediately start and be the running back and be a startable running back in your fantasy football roster. And you never know what's going to happen. Guys get injured all the time, so you might need to put that guy into your flex position. Even if you have your starting running back still, and Christian McCaffrey somehow, knock on wood, gets hurt, then Brian Robinson could be a startable option over another wide receiver on your roster, and you just put him in the flex, right? You never know what kind of value you get.
You never do, and you want to keep your options available, right? At this point, if the guy hasn't panned out, he probably won't pan out the rest of this year.
Yeah. Another thing. So, you don't always have to use your waiver claims on Tuesday night when all the waivers are processing, right? Sometimes people make dumb moves and they will drop someone who they personally think they don't need. Let's say, for example, a bunch of wide receivers. This guy is heavy on wide receivers. He's got JSN and Puka. And then he drops a kind of valuable wide receiver out on the market, right? You don't have to burn your waiver priority on someone you don't necessarily need. If you keep that waiver priority, then you're going to be able to scoop them up the next Wednesday night, which kind of happened in our league. Sorry to say that, G, but you dropped Michael Wilson for Xavier Worthy, and I didn't use my waiver priority at the time. So then I was able to use my priority over you and Brian, and I was able to grab Michael Wilson off waivers.
Yeah, that is a great example. Unfortunately, I made a mistake there, I would say. But yeah, I would definitely look at what other people are cutting, look at your other opponents' teams, and then the most, if you're really just like, okay, I've done all this and there's nothing I can do, and I still may have an extra roster spot or a couple guys on the bench I'm willing to cut, just look into next week's matchups, right? Is there a defense, especially, like, for example, the Niners were on bye week 14. In a couple of my leagues, I knew they were going against the Titans this week. I grabbed the Niner defense. It's not that hard to look at the next week's matchup and see which team is going to do bad, right? Especially if you're on like a sleeper, you can just week 16 projections and it'll put it up for you. Look at like, hey, maybe the Browns this week are going against a tough matchup or whatever, Houston. So they might cut those defenses that are really good. But next week, they're back to playing an average team or a bad team. And now the matchup is really good. Pick it up, stash it, have it ready for next week. That's a big thing you can do, especially if you're like a really good team, your starting lineup is super situated and you don't really have any much changes, then go find a nice defense for next week or a kicker or a guy with a good matchup, a quarterback, whatever you might think is valuable to someone else, right?
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point. Like, if you're one of those teams that have a playoff bye, right? Because let's say you're the first seed and you guys do a bye week, right? So now you're actually off for this week. You don't necessarily have to worry about doing all these cuts and whatever, but don't necessarily take the week off either. Because again, roster your handcuffs, because I think that's the biggest thing. Because the worst feeling in the world is not having to play a fantasy game, but your opponent, your team gets injured anyway. Let's say you have, again, Achane or McCaffrey or Bijan, one of those guys, and they get hurt. You should get the handcuff already. You should already have the handcuff on your roster for week 16, just in case. You got to keep them in there, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I don't think sitting on your hands as a first team, second seed, is what you're supposed to be doing right now. Like, there's nobody that's in the playoffs that shouldn't be making transactions this week.
Yeah, watch the trends. Like, again, bye weeks are not a real bye week. You don't get an excuse to just take a week off and just look around, because trends change quickly in the NFL. The guy that you thought was, your flex for sure coming into week 16, maybe he has a terrible game the next week. And now you have to actually look at the or maybe he's not getting targets for some reason. Maybe he forgot to pass block, like your running back forgot to pass block on a play. Now he's benched. Things change quickly. You got to keep up with the trends. Keep watching the games, right? You didn't come all this way just to take the week off and then get eliminated the next week.
What did Kim Kardashian say? I didn't come this far just to come this far.
Jeez. She really said that?
One of the fucking greatest quotes of all time, huh?
Jesus. Oh, no. Okay, real quickly, let's talk about one debate that I think that a lot of people are having. And this is one that I actually constantly struggle with as well. It's the biggest thing is start your studs. And I've always been a start your stud guy, personally. Like, I always like to pick the guys that I personally think are the most talented, and I believe that the opportunity will come. But sometimes, unfortunately, life isn't fair, and they're going to get the worst matchups possible. So in that case, G, and you have a guy on your team that has ideal matchup. Let's say they go up against Dallas or Cincinnati. They got like the best, matchup possible for their position.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not very, they're kind of middling, right?
Okay.
For example, let's say like Aaron Jones this week. He's actually going up against the Cowboys. They're not very good on defense. Or Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews gets Cincinnati, which is just, again, the worst tight end defense maybe of all time. But he's Mark Andrews right now. How can you trust him? Like, how do you make that decision of talent versus matchup?
It's hard. It's very hard. It is by case basis, right? So shameless plug here, but this is why you follow our Discord. This is why you follow our social media. Ask us these questions, right? Because every matchup is different. Every person is different, right? But I would say, going back to this example, if you have a guy like Aaron Jones who's going against Dallas, a great matchup, the upside possibility is there. I would think about who I'm going against, but I wouldn't be scared to start him, man. You have to, if that's what you feel like is right, I think final say should be what feels very corny, but what feels right inside, like deep inside. You don't want to like lose a week and be like, damn, I knew I should have started Aaron Jones against Dallas. He had the best matchup. Instead, I started someone against a bad defense that you really like, whatever, right? It happens all the time, but you have to just make the right decision, which is hard to say in hindsight or before, hindsight's always 2020, but you have to at least feel like to the point with the decision you make, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be comfortable living with it, right? Because that's the worst thing is like the regret of like, oh, I knew I should have put Aaron Jones in. I knew this matchup was bad and he's only getting 7 points this week. And then Aaron Jones gets 15, 20, and God forbid that's how much you lose by, right?
Yeah, and I think that's another thing where experts are going to have their consensus rankings and you're going to lean a little bit more into those rankings now because the decision is so big now that maybe it's just easier to kind of be able to opt out of the decision and kind of defer to the experts here, just like us, right? But at the same time, again, the decision is yours. You got to do what's your first thought, basically, going into it. I always think of it like, my first guess, if I was able to write down my roster and my starting roster on a piece of paper, what would it go like? And what would be the first impression of it, right? So then I'd put my quarterback, like quarterback is this, running back is this, and some of them are fairly obvious. And then when it gets to the flex spot, there's a name that pops into your mind that you just know. And that's when you write it in. That's kind of how I approach it when it comes to it. I just leave it as a blank slate. And the first name that pops into my head on who fits into this spot makes sense. I don't like having a guy in my default, flex spot already there, because then that already implies that I already believe they're the starter in this case. I'm already leaning towards them if that's the case. I want to be a blank slate. I want to know basically what's the first guy that comes into my head that I believe is going to be my starter. That's the guy. Write it down. I think in terms of talent versus matchup though, I think you want to split the hair. You want to split the difference. It does depend on the situation there. But I think the biggest thing is that don't always start your studs in this case. Like a Justin Jefferson, I think is one of the biggest questions that is going to come into this week. And unfortunately for you, G, but I think that's one of the biggest decisions. But it's also up against a very ideal matchup in Dallas. Personally, I would play him in this case because Dallas is literally the worst. Jefferson is one of the best to ever do it in the game. That's an easy decision to me. I think a harder one is a guy like Emeka Egbuka, which he has the talent, he has the production, but has been struggling as of late. It's kind of a middling matchup in Atlanta right now. In that case, you cannot be afraid to start guys that you'd never, ever consider starting in a playoff game. and even in just fantasy football in general. But there's always a case of those guys where it's like, for those 3 weeks, somehow they're just unstoppable.
Yeah, that was insane. I think it was with the Chiefs, right?
Maybe back a couple years ago. Do you remember that? He was a receiving back. He wasn't even the starting running back, I think. It was like Pacheco, probably Kareem Hunt somewhere. But Jerick McKinnon was the one getting all the PPR points. He was dominating fantasy football leagues. And if you started him over guys like maybe your household names like a Saquon or a Gibbs, I mean, obviously maybe too far, but point is, starting those guys will somehow win you those leagues. I regret like completely that I decided to not just play, I played my regular tight end last year in the playoffs versus Chiga Okonkwo, because I was just like, who the fuck is Chiga Okonkwo? What is he going to do? But he had matchup. He had the ability. I just didn't like him based off the name recognition. I literally lost by the margin of points between my tight end and Chiga Okonkwo's day. Like,
Jesus
that
Christ.
was it. And I regret it.
That's
and now
like a
it's
nightmare.
story. Yeah, it's a story now for the podcast.
Well, Matt, I do want to say something to the people here. I think overall, and kind of just summarize everything, it's just you have to do whatever it takes. Start whoever, bench whoever, cut whoever, pick up whoever, any type of advantage or anything you can do to, make it that bit better for yourself. You have to do it. There's nothing left. There's nothing, no bulb can go unscrewed here.
And if there's one last thing, and you alluded to it before, go out on your own terms. Ultimately, it doesn't matter who helped you get here, whether it's the advice of a friend, the advice of a fantasy football expert, or the counsel of a very trusty podcast here. Ultimately, you're the one who's made the decisions the entire year to get you to this place. You gotta be the one to see it through and take it to the end. Make the decision that you believe is your own. And, I would never want to go out on someone else's decision. I would never want to die based off of, someone else's advice.
Yeah, you have to be comfortable with your own decision. You have to be confident going into that week, and that week is this week. But if you're unconfident or you have questions, again, go to our social media, go to our Discord and ask. And if you might hear some of these names that you might hear here in a little bit, you might have questions about them. Feel free to ask. And do not, the sense of talking to someone about it or asking about it can be such a big thing, because it could be such a simple decision that you're overthinking, right? Because we're not in the league. We're not, we're a neutral bias party here. You ask us, we'll help you out. But, sometimes when you're the person making a decision, a simple decision you can overthink, right?
Yeah, honestly, it's great to talk something out, and sometimes you have to talk out exactly what you're thinking in order for it to make sense. Unfortunately for me, my sounding board for a couple of weeks has been Bryant, and I have to face him in the playoffs this week, so I don't think he's going to be very helpful. But it's always good to talk to a friend, kind of listen it out, and we are also your friends, so be sure to discuss it with us.
Yes, we are all your friends. Talk to us.
Yes.
But with that being said, for the people that are still looking for advice, that have listened to us this far, have gotten with our advice this far, we wouldn't leave you without some advice for today, right? So, of course, we have our Week 15 starts and sits. And Matt, congratulations, man. Better late than never. 7-0 last week, man. Fuck.
It was a great week.
That might be a first time ever.
I know you did it last week. I mean, no, you didn't do it last week, but you did it before because we instituted the new rule where if you got everything right, you get to pick the cover of our graphic for the next week. I don't think I hit 7 though. Yeah, I mean, again,
7-0 is impressive.
Perfect week on all fronts. Again, high score, won the first seed, 7 straight starts and sits. I'm honored.
Feels like someone peaked a little too early.
I don't believe in peaks. I believe we're going up, up, up.
Wow.
All the time.
Beautiful. All right, well, start us off, man. The people who are listening, they're like, Matt 7-0. What could he have for us as a quarterback start? What could Matt have for the people?
I want to preface everything that I'm saying right now in these playoff starts and sits. Make sure we're picking intentionally difficult starts and sits this week. And for the rest of the playoffs, we're not going to tell you to start Josh Allen. right? We're not going to tell you to start these obvious ones. We want to give you confidence in some of the more questionable decisions that you have to make, but that doesn't necessarily mean start these guys over some of these studs. And again, I want to point out that nuance, because don't come into our mentions next week and saying you
why would I
you
start
told me to do
Jackson
this,
Dart and not Lamar Jackson? But well, why
Yeah.
would you ask us that question? But if you do ask us, we'll answer it. But if you don't ask us that question and then you don't listen to us, then it's your fault.
Exactly. I'm prefacing this now. So, with that being said, I'm giving you two guys that you can be confident in starting this week, and that's Jackson Dart versus the Washington Commanders and Trevor Lawrence versus the New York Jets. And this is what I'm talking about here, because Dart, I think, has been, honestly, I would feel confident starting Dart in a playoff game. He's proven it. He's been averaging a lot of points, and he has a great rushing floor, obviously. And I know that he's trying to protect himself a little bit more. He's kind of failing so far, honestly.
He's not going to do it.
Yeah, he's probably not. And it doesn't really matter. Like, that gives him a high floor, but the ceiling obviously just comes from the fact that they are just terrible right now. The Washington Commanders. They cannot defend at all to save their life. I think they are allowing the fourth most points to fantasy quarterbacks this season. They just let J.J. McCarthy score 3 touchdowns on them. Passing touchdowns. J.J. McCarthy, number 9 himself. He was essentially benched for Max Brosmer. So I think that Jackson Dart, he's already a good quarterback. He's averaging 17 points per game. He's going to get it done against the Commanders. And then Trevor Lawrence, real quick plug for him. He's probably out there on waivers. I want to give a little bit of confidence to Trevor Lawrence right now because he's honestly doing a lot better. He is also averaging 17 points per game. Quarterback 7, quarterback 5, quarterback 13 in the last 3 weeks, averaging about 20 points per game in those last 3 weeks. I think
that'll
he can
definitely
get it done against the Jets. Yeah,
that'll do it. And the matchup is great. The team has lost it. They need a win. I definitely would target that there. My matchup here is more of a desperation start. If you're really just have nobody on your waiver wires, you're looking for a 2-quarterback league, possibly. It's Kirk Cousins against Tampa. Tampa's defense is not so good. Kirk Cousins, it has time to throw. He should be good. And has Drake London coming back. It is signing yourself up for fucking a hell of a playoff quarterback start. But Kirk Cousins, man, he's good for stat padding randomly. It could easily be one of those games. It's going to be most likely a high scoring game. A lot of just passing. And I like the matchup, but really I do. The Tampa hasn't shown me anything recently to kind of tell me otherwise. And, Kirk Cousins hasn't looked the best, but now that he has a reliable wide receiver 1 coming back, perfect timing for, my desperate people out there. He just had a dog shit week, and he's, can only get better.
Yeah.
If you're desperate, Kirk Cousins is available for you.
I'm honestly surprised you didn't pick Phillip Rivers here.
I thought about Phillip Rivers. I thought about Riley Leonard, but they're going against the Seahawks, so I'll leave it out for today. Maybe next week if I'm allowed back on. If after
the
this,
protest doesn't kill you.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I'll have Riley Leonard start for us, but I'm going to go back to back. I mean, I guess one of us always has to go back to back here, but I got ETN against the Jets. I'm going to kind of reiterate a lot of what you said there with Trevor Lawrence matchup against the Jets. The offense has been playing a lot better just overall in the last 3 weeks. ETN's been a huge part of that, scoring a lot of touchdowns too. So I kind of like that there. He's getting a kind of more of a consistent workload. Tootin was supposed to be a bigger deal, but I don't think he is as much. He's once in a while will get a goal line carry and stuff, but against the third worst defense against running backs, I love that. It's 100% confidence in Travis Etienne. He's a must start.
Yeah, I mean, he got a lot of flack. He had a pretty down week in weeks 5 through 7. He was like running back 30, but then the last couple weeks, basically, he's been in the top 12 in PPR. So you got to ride the hot hand here. Travis Etienne is a great matchup, obviously. This is going to be a questionable one, and I'm going to say that right now. But I am confident-ish in starting Aaron Jones versus the Dallas Cowboys. He's going to be my running back start of the week. I'm going to give him a little boost here of confidence to those Aaron Jones managers out there. I think you can put him in the flex, and I think you can have a decent production from him. Why? Well, first of all, I think that he's going to get good volume. I think that the opportunities are there, and I think that if Minnesota wants to compete, and they obviously do, Aaron Jones is still getting good volume. I know Jordan Mason splits the carries, and he did get the touchdown last week, but I think Aaron Jones is still going to be a big part of the run game. So you can get
definitely
the
an opportunity for multiple rushing touchdowns here.
Yeah. Dallas is the 9th worst right now in points allowed to the running back's position. So it's a good matchup. But the biggest reason why I like this is because of the historical thing. Aaron Jones is a UTEP guy. He is from the University of Texas, El Paso. And for some reason, every time he faces the Dallas Cowboys, he just absolutely demolishes
kills them. Yeah, I feel like every Packers Aaron Jones great game, I think of the Cowboys.
Exactly. In 2018, and I know I'm digging far back, actually in the 2019 season, 49 points in PPR, 107 yards, 4 touchdowns, 75 receiving yards, 49 points. In the divisional game, or the wildcard game against the Cowboys in 2023, 118 yards, 3 touchdowns, 13 receiving yards. Running back 1 with 32 points.
That'll get it done.
He loves to play the Cowboys. He loves it. That's why I'm giving it to Aaron Jones. I know it's shaky, but I want to give some confidence because it just happens. Sometimes it can't be explained, but it happens.
It just happens. Exactly. And I mean, shit, a lot of things are happening with your next start here. Why don't you give us that?
Again, all about confidence plays. Maybe I'm a little cocky right now with the 7-0, but I want to try to give as much advice possible for our players out there. So I'm giving 3 wide receiver starts, all of which need a little bit of a confidence boost here. Darnell Mooney versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I agree with you, G. I think Kirk Cousins can get it done against the Bucs. I think they are not the best pass defense at the moment. Darnell Mooney, the historical thing is there as well. He dominated the Buccaneers last year. He had 31 points in their first matchup in Atlanta. Then at Tampa Bay, he had 18 points in PPR. Both games, he had touchdowns. He had 3 touchdowns last year against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He averaged, he had 191 receiving yards as well. So I think as the number 1 guy, if Drake London is out, Darnell Mooney could be a flex play off your waivers. And I think you could get a decent production out of him. Jordan Addison versus the Dallas Cowboys is my next one. Dallas is still the worst defense to wide receivers this season. Jordan Addison seems to be the target instead of Justin Jefferson. I don't really understand it, but he's been putting up decent numbers. He had 8 against Seattle. He had 10 versus Washington. I think you can play him as a flex option here. Obviously, the matchup is great. Jaden Higgins versus the Arizona Cardinals is my last guy. He's a rookie. He is starting outside of Nico Collins, and he's getting good production as well. This one's a little bit tougher. Arizona, the matchup is not quite there, but I think that they are able to pass on them. I think Higgins would be a desperate play, but I think you can play him and be okay with it.
I think you give a nice range of different levels of guys. Addison, obviously, if he's available, that's almost a must start. Mooney somewhere in between, and Higgins is a very desperate start. So I think there's kind of levels to what you're looking for there, and I think that helps a lot of people. I mean, I feel like a lot of people would probably read some of these and are like, "Oh, I don't have Jordan Addison available." Well, that's why we have Jaden Higgins, right? Like, and I think in almost every one of my leagues, the guy I have for my wide receiver start is still available. Surprisingly, I mean, not surprisingly, but also surprisingly, I guess Ricky Pearsall against Tennessee. I mean, if you guys watched football week 14, you guys saw the Browns actually put up a lot of points against the Tennessee Titans, and they haven't been able to do that all year. The Titans defense is awful. The Niners need a win. They need to continue their record going. They have a lot of good momentum right now coming off a bye. Ricky Pearsall for the once is coming out of a bye healthy. Everything's good. So I like this matchup. And it's one of those matchups where I feel like the Niners definitely will run it up a little bit, get everybody involved, make sure everybody gets touchdowns. Why not, right? 2 for McCaffrey, 1 for Kittle, and 1 for Ricky Pearsall.
That's bold. I mean, he hasn't been available. I feel like he hasn't been very good, so I definitely think he's available.
But see, the thing is, for a lot of the Niners' logic here is just They're going to need him going into the playoffs, and you got to amp him up soon and got to get him going. Purdy, him haven't even really played together at all as much this year. So, God, dude, they're so far behind of where they should be with all, obviously with all the injuries and stuff. So, there's a great time to kind of do some catch up on terms of just chemistry before playoffs start.
Fair enough.
And I'll go back to back for our tight end touchdown guarantee. Oh, man. Did you mention yet how Washington's defense sucks? Oh, yeah. We did multiple times. And we're going to continue to pick on him. Give me Theo Johnson. Feels like between him and Wandale, they kind of carry the pass offense when Jackson Dart's out there. I love that. He gets so many touches. Old Bobby Wagner can't keep up with him anymore. And its matchup is the second best for tight ends. Washington's awful against them. And I don't imagine anything differently here. This should be a very, very bad game. I don't think many people will be watching it, but it'll have a lot of good fantasy options, especially on that Giants side with Dart starting. Him and Theo Johnson feel like they had a great connection when he's in the games and not concussed on the sidelines.
And I'm going to go Dalton Schultz versus the Arizona Cardinals. 5 of the last 8 weeks, Dalton Schultz has finished as a tight end 10 or better. I think that the Arizona Cardinals are the 9th defense in fantasy points allowed to tight ends. That means Dalton Schultz is actually a viable option out there. And, it's not the sexiest name, but, I think the passing game that the Texans had to start the season kind of scared everybody, and Nico was kind of the most viable option, and then he was struggling as well. But now you got these guys like Higgins, you got these guys like Schultz. I think they're starting to turn it around, and the Cardinals defense is just horrible at the moment. I think you have the ability to play Schultz and get some decent points out of him.
Yeah, I think so too. He's been producing pretty well. The matchup has been really bad. I feel like everybody puts up a 30-something against Arizona, so hey, Why not him, right?
And we're going to stick to that Arizona matchup here with our sits of the week. Unfortunately, I think the streak ends. You're sitting Jacoby Brissett against the Houston Texans. I really like Jacoby Brissett. He helped me win last week because Drake May was on bye. I started him right away, and he put up quarterback 12 numbers. He's been a quarterback 12 or better in every single game he started this year. Every single game.
But what do we know about the Texans defense that we mentioned for like the last 5 weeks?
Yep. No quarterback has finished quarterback 12 or better against the Houston Texans. It is the unstoppable force versus the immovable object. I'm going to side with the immovable object here. It's at Houston. They're playing for something. I think eventually the train has to end. Jacoby Brissett might not survive this week.
I think I wouldn't say the train has to stop. I would just say the train has to take a stop. Just, every train has to come to a stop and stop for 2 minutes and then go back off. So this is a stop real quick. Houston, I would just, put all of my Cardinals on a break for the week and get back to them next week.
I think that's the one question a lot of fantasy managers are going to ask. So let's address it right now. Michael Wilson, if Marvin Harrison Jr. is out, do you play him against the Texans?
If Marvin Harrison Jr. is out, Michael Wilson is a green light. He is 100% start with confidence. I have no logic. I have no stat. I have nothing other than his pure production. The 3 weeks Marvin Harrison's been out, and I don't know if he'll put up 100-something yards because they might not even get 100-something yards. But he's going to get targeted. He's going to get targeted. Yeah. And then after he's done getting targeted, when maybe he's like concussed walking to the sideline, they might throw him another pass. Like the volume is just there. It's hard to pass up. If it'll all contingent on Marvin being out.
Yeah, this is the thing that we're talking about here. Context matters, obviously, but you can't bench a guy who's hot. Like, doesn't matter who the name is. Again, Jerick McKinnon, if it was the same situation, I'd start him. Even if it's a tough defensive matchup, you will regret it if you didn't start the guy who was averaging 15 targets a game without Marvin Harrison. Like, you just have to take it, and you just have to realize sometimes, it just didn't work out, and that's fine. But you can't bench a guy with that kind of logic right there. Like, oh, it's a tough
No.
defense, but you just
And
have to do it.
I think we should mention the flip side of it as well. If Marvin Harrison plays, every single Cardinal is a sit.
Yes, especially Marvin Harrison.
I don't think people are worried about that one. So with that Cardinal break taken, let's hop back into my quarterbacks of the week. I got Mahomes against the Chargers. It's just these turnovers, man. They scare me with Mahomes. He's been turning the ball over so much, so many picks, and it just concerns me because this Charger defense is good. I watched them just play against an offense that I would consider probably better than the Chiefs and the Eagles. That they made Jalen Hurts look like an absolute idiot. And obviously I don't think Mahomes will throw that many picks and that many turnovers, but there's somewhere close he will be kind of, not too far from it, right? This Charger defense is good. I don't know, even though you ask any Chiefs player, coach, they're still playing for stuff, but I do feel like their season is kind of closing here. Maybe if things start off a little slow, you might see kind of a unfortunate kind of ending to the Chiefs season here this week. With the loss to the Chargers. So not only do I think Chiefs don't win, I think Mahomes might be a sit in most situations unless you only have like Brissett's and Shucks and stuff of that world available. So it is kind of on the thinner line there. I think this is like, hey, is Dart available? I'd probably start him, right? Like, are some of these other guys available? Yeah. Is my option between Jacoby Brissett, 2 and Mahomes? I'm probably going to pick Mahomes. So I want to be transparent there, right, guys? I think
Purdy, if Purdy was on against the Titans.
Purdy, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a nice place to it has to be a good quarterback I can trust with a good matchup, which is Purdy, basically, right?
By the way, our quarterback sits last week combined for 8 turnovers last week. No touchdowns.
There we go.
Pretty good.
Let's continue that up. There's a great chance Brissett might get him all by himself. So going into our running back set of the week, kind of a similar game we talked about, but the flip side of the ball, we have the Cowboys running back Javonte Williams against the Vikings. Vikings have been a good defense all year, man, and they're going to continue to be a good defense, and especially against running backs. So I don't like the matchup for Javonte. I definitely don't think, they're going to be able to run the ball much. This will be probably a low-scoring-ish game, and if they're able to kind of get the Vikings anywhere, it'll be with the pass catchers. CD should be playing off his concussion. George Pickens is still there, so I just don't see the heavy Javonte workload.
That's fair. That's totally fair. It's a tough defense. Another tough defense out there is Seattle, and they are going up against a Colts team in Seattle without a quarterback currently, except if you count the 44-year-old legend, Phillip Rivers, who's probably going to be activated for this game and going to be right off the couch into the game against the Seattle Seahawks, who are looking to get the first round bye and a Super Bowl. This is so tough, right? And I'm obviously not telling you to sit Phillip Rivers because obviously he's going to be a start. But you can sit Jonathan Taylor against the Seattle Seahawks. And it's just going to be very quick, right? Like, Taylor.
It's pretty simple. I feel like it's like stack the box. Don't let Jonathan Taylor beat you. You're probably going to beat the Colts. That's got to be the recipe the rest of the year. And unfortunately, it's such an unfortunate ending for Jonathan Taylor's season because it was like almost perfect, right? He was in the MVP race. He was this and that. And now it's just like, just stop him and you'll probably win the game.
Yeah. I think it's going to be hard for him to get touchdowns, which means it's harder for him to score. So I'm going to sit him there.
The touchdowns are the huge.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm going to go with the wide receiver sits here. Pretty simple. All the Colts wide receivers versus Seattle. Again, I can't trust them right now. You can't trust them at this point. It's a tough matchup. You don't know if the quarterback can throw. So
this is exactly what we were mentioning earlier. You can't put in Michael Pittman when you may have a better, decent option on the bench, and then you're going to be like, wow, Pittman had 1.4. Who would have guessed it? Even though he had a 15-point projection or whatever high number sleeper probably puts out there, right? And you're going to might lose off of it. So just doesn't matter. I think all Colts receivers against the defense regardless, but with no quarterback, even more.
Yeah. And then Christian Watson versus Denver. It's a tough matchup. Denver's second best against fantasy tight end, wide receivers this year. Watson is only, even though he's getting huge touchdowns right now, he's averaging just 4 receptions a game. So it's a little bit dicey. I'm just worried that the touchdown regression is going to hit there. And then Zay Flowers versus Cincinnati. Cincinnati's actually pretty good against wide receivers this season. They are only allowing the 6th least points. Zay Flowers had a great game last week, begrudgingly, but that just obviously means he's not going to have a great game this week. So I'd sit them all there.
Man, wow. That's a lot of receivers to sit, man. That could be someone's whole wide receiving core.
Could be.
Yeah. Well, I have from my start of last week to now my sit of this week, we got Vele.
Didn't work out, did it?
Didn't work out. I mean, Shuck's playing better and better slowly and surely, but the pass volume doesn't seem to be there. And against Carolina, I just can't imagine they're going to be down, 20, 30 points and needing to come back all game. I don't think that's going to be the script of the game. I can imagine this being a little bit of a closer game, kind of similar to this Bucs game. And then it looks like when New Orleans is kind of in the game, they want to focus on that run game, focus on just kind of getting a little bit of everybody involved. So this week against Carolina, against J.C. Horn, I don't like that matchup at all. Carolina's been one of the best defenses towards the wide receivers so far this year. So it's just hard for me to really be too happy with that matchup if I had him. And I think there's a lot of better streaming options available. So this might just be, unfortunately, not just a sit, a cut. So
that's fair. If you can't start him this week, then yeah, you just cut him.
Right. Another guy here, Hunter Henry, been very reliable for most of New England here all year. And now we've got to get a matchup against Buffalo, who's kind of been an all right defense. It's really weird because they're one of the worst defenses against the rush, but one of the best defense against the pass. So, Stephon Diggs kind of has that revenge game. I thought about getting him involved, maybe Booty, but Booty's not really like I'll tell you to sit Booty. Like, no one's going to be like, nice pick, So I'm going against Hunter Henry here. I think they'll definitely have to be a kind of more of a ball control offense to beat the Bills this week. That's definitely going to be the script, and they're running the ball well. Then against a team that can't stop the run, I don't see why you would pivot from that. So kind of just more of a general, maybe not Diggs because of the revenge factor. It's hard to kind of incorporate that into statistics, right? But everybody else in terms of New England pass catchers, Booty, Hunter, anybody else you're thinking about starting, I would probably put them as sits. Running backs are a green light for me this week.
Yeah, I definitely like Henderson to start. We couldn't make him an official start because we got burned too much, but I do like him unofficially. All right. And then finally,
we'll wrap us up here.
Yep, I'll wrap it up. Tight end sit of the week, Oronde Gadsden versus the Kansas City Chiefs. The hype is over, unfortunately. He's back to one of your unreliable tight ends. And again, the Chiefs are a very good defense. They're at home. I think this is going to be a really tough game for both teams to score. This is two great defenses. Kansas City's at home, and they're usually a much better defense at home. They are allowing the 6th least points to tight ends this season. Gadsden has kind of been phased out of the offense ever since Joe Alt got hurt, and I think he's needed to pass protect a lot more for Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's also not seen the field as much because I think he's panicking a little. We saw it on Monday Night Football. He kept running into the pressure. I think he's kind of like his internal clock's a little messed up because of the pressure right now. And
the pressure and the injuries, I think he definitely feels the pain.
Pain all the way. He's been the most hit quarterback this season, it feels like. Every time I see him, he's on the ground. So I just don't like the matchup at all. This is the guy that I don't think you can rely on as your first playoff start. Like, I can't put him in this tight end position right now. Yeah, there's other options.
It's hard when that's the thing. It's hard when there's better options available that are not very hard to find.
Yep. Obviously, that's our Week 15 starts and sits. You can find the full list of our Week 15 starts and sits on Saturday afternoon on our Twitter, on our threads. Go to sports_counsel. Look at all the full list there. Ask us questions there. Join our Discord to make sure that if any questions you ask there, we will definitely answer it. So obviously,
any and all. We don't care how bad the question is. I get it. Trust me, I've asked horrible questions during playoffs because I'm just so scared. I'm unsure, so ask away.
Definitely. So follow, join the Discord, make sure you get on. All right. That'll do it for today's episode. We will see you on the other side, and make sure to come back even if you're eliminated next week, because episode 200 of Sports Counsel is coming. It's going to be a very special one. I can guarantee it.
Oh, man. Can't wait. I'm so excited. 200 episodes in. We'll talk more about it next week. But, I do want to say one last thing. Good luck to everybody participating in their playoffs this week. And hopefully everybody wins and they listen to us, and that's why they win.
Yep. I hope everyone's here by next week. And that includes our podcasters who may be eliminated because we have podcasters against podcasters. I will be here even if I lose. I
will
hope
most likely be here.
Depends, huh?
No, I wouldn't miss it.
Okay. Well, stay tuned. Good luck, everybody. See you later.
See ya.